Hello everyone and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley and the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and basically anything else that I feel like I need to talk about. Now, this week I had my first Commander stream. My cousin is going to be my co-host on the stream that's going to be happening every 2 weeks. So we will not be streaming this coming Friday, but we will be streaming the Friday after that. And I do just want to give a big thank you to Andy and Parker for joining us. And yeah, we had a great time. Streamlabs did end up crashing towards the second of our two games. But other than some technical difficulties, I feel like everything went pretty good. Everyone seemed to have a good time. Yeah. In the first game, I played Niv-Mizzet Reborn with Jegantha as a companion. My cousin Nate played Angie, Maid of Dishonor. Andy Flory played Satsuki, the Living Lore. And then Parker played Queen Marchesa. Now, the game got off to a little bit of a rough start for me. I had a decent opening hand, but then didn't hit, another land for like 3 or 4 turns. So I was kind of limited in what I could do. Did eventually get to a point where I could do multiple things and worked out for a game. Parker kind of came right out the gate, quickly setting up that he was going to be a threat. And Nate's Angie deck was just kind of popping off. It was an aristocrat vampire deck. And between Parker having Impact Tremors and Bitter Blossom and other things making tokens, and then what Nate was doing with Angie and blood tokens and all of his stuff, life totals were very low very fast. But it was still a fun game. I guess I can say that I officially died to a blood token because me and Andy Flory were both taken out through the life drain that way. And Nate ended up winning by draining out everybody. It was actually a really good game and was a lot of fun. Then we took a 2 or 3 minute break to pick out different decks, let people go to the bathroom, get settled in, shuffle up, do our mulligans. And then in game 2, I played my Ishin, the Two Heavens is One. Nate played Isareth the Awakener. Andy played the Shortakai Genesis engine, which was an upgraded precon. And then Parker, we all agreed, could play his Griselda Monster Masher Silver Border Commander, which was quite sweet. He ended up mashing together Leonin War Leader and a Gary. So, yeah, he did fun stuff. Let's see, in that game, I kind of had a slow start, and a bunch of my stuff ended up getting removed. Andy Flory really went off with his Shortakai deck. Actually got to make the Megazord with the Mech Titan core. And honestly, I thought I was going to lose that game purely from that fact because him and Parker were going at it. We'd kind of taken Nate out early because he was doing Reanimator shenanigans and drained us all for a lot of life. So we kind of ended up taking him out pretty fast. Not like super, super early, but like maybe by like turn 6 or 7 he was out, and then like the game ended like 4 turns after that. But what ended up happening was I was kind of in this rut where I wasn't doing anything. but I had a ton of gold from before my enchantment got removed. So I just had a ton of mana and basically nothing to do. So I was just playing out whatever I could. So I ended up playing a Helm of the Host and equipping it to Ishin just to make blockers. But then they were kind of focusing on each other. So I ended up with 3 Ishins. I had played Audric, the one that gives everything all the keywords, and an Atali. And they didn't remove anything at that point. So going to my next turn, after the turn I played the Atali, I rip Aurelia off the top. And that allows me to play Aurelia, put the Helm of the Host on Aurelia, attack, untap, make another copy of Aurelia, attack, untap. So essentially what happened was they couldn't remove anything because every combat my creatures were all getting Flying, Vigilance, and Haste off of the Aurelias from the Audrics. So they didn't really have ways to block, which means I could take infinite combats, which every time I attacked with an Atali, that was 3 Atali triggers. It just meant that they couldn't stop me based on what they had in their hands, and that's how the game ended. Unfortunately, that part of the game was not seen on stream because my Streamlabs crashed about 5 minutes before that. But we did get most of the game in, and hopefully whatever was messing with my Streamlabs is okay, because I went in and re-updated it again. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. We do have people lined up for our next stream, which is going to be on the 4th of May. The first person that's going to be joining us is Anna MT. I played on her stream a while back when she was first starting. Great person. Definitely should check her out. And then Oni MTG from the Mana Rock podcast will be joining us that week as well. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. And hopefully I can get the games actually edited and up on YouTube for people to watch. And yeah, I'll see you in a moment. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast and me, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. And welcome back. Now, before I get into the deck tech that I want to talk about, I want to mention that my new logo was based on me as Nazahn, the revered bladesmith. So I thought it was only right that I make a Nazahn deck. And actually, I'd been working on it for a while when I knew what the art I had commissioned was going to look like. So Nazahn is a 5/4 cat artificer for 4, a green and a white. When he enters the battlefield, you can search your library for an equipment card and reveal it. If you reveal the card named Hammer of Nazahn this way, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you may tap target creature defending player controls. Now, the first thing that I do want to get out of the way is, yes, I am running the Hammer of Nazahn, which is a 4 generic mana cost for a legendary equipment. But when Hammer of Nazahn or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control. The equipped creature gets +2/+0, indestructible, and it has equip 4. Now, even if this wasn't a Nazahn deck, that would probably be in here because it's almost like the second Sigarda's Aid, which is a single white mana for an enchantment that allows you to cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash, and whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So, same thing. They are 2 of the best cards in the deck, and one of them is tutorable with our commander. But I also kind of wanted to take his second ability into play, which is having multiple creatures with equipment on them. So in addition to like your mainstay in equipment decks, which are Pure Steel Paladin and SRAM's Senior Artificer, the Paladin is 2 white mana for a 2/2 human knight, and whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. And it has Metalcraft. Equipment you control have 0 to equip as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. And then SRAM is 1 and a white for a 2/2 Dwarf Advisor. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. So I wanted to make sure I had other players that I wouldn't mind having. I believe the old saying in competitive circles is, well, it can hold a sword. So we have things like Shalai, Voice of Plenty, 3 and a white for a 3/4 angel with flying. You, planeswalkers you control, and other creatures that you control have hexproof. And for 4 green, you can put a counter, a +1/+1 counter, on each creature you control. Calibri of Mithril Hull is a green and a white for a 2/2 human archer with first strike and reach. When she attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it for each equipment attached to it, and then you can pay 1 and remove all +1/+1 counters to have it deal X damage to target attacking or blocking creature and opponent controls, where X is the number of counters removed this way. Armored Skyhunter is a card that I've been trying to find a reason to put into a deck for so long, and now I finally have a spot for it. 3 and a white for a cat knight is a 3/3 with flying, and whenever Armored Skyhunter attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put an aura or equipment card from among them onto the battlefield. If an equipment is put onto the battlefield this way, you may attach it to a creature you control. Put the rest of those cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then Danitha Capuchin Paragon is kind of like not the only other creature in the deck, but the only other one I want to mention here. 2 and a white for a 2/2 human knight with first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. Aura and equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And I do know a lot of like the white artifact decks, the white equipment decks, tend to either focus on her or SRAM. I just kind of didn't. But I do want to talk about some equipment. And I'm not going to waste a lot of your time talking about the Swords of X and Y because they're all in here. And they're all just different flavors of 3 generic to play and 2 generic to equip. And then they give you protection from 2 colors. So like Fire and Ice is red and blue, Feast and Famine is black and green, Hearth and Home is green and white, Sinew and Steel is black and red, Body and Mind is blue and green, Truth and Justice, white and blue, so on and so forth for everyone that has one so far. There's still a few that don't have a Sword of X and Y. But most people know what they do. and there's not really a whole lot of point in me going through why they're in the deck. They're just incredibly powerful cards. Instead, I want to talk about some other stuff, because this would not be an Andy Bentley special without a Colossus Hammer. Just 1 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying, and it has an equip of 8. Basically, we want to cheat this onto something with one of our 3 ways to do it. Goldvein Pick has slowly been becoming one of my favorite call time cards. 2 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. It equips for 1. Shadow Spear, single mana, equipment, +1/+1, trample, and lifelink. You can pay 1 to give permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible till end of turn, and it equips for 2. The old school favorite for these type of decks, Sword of Vengeance. 3 mana, 3 to equip. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste. Now, in this deck particularly, being a green-white deck, and most of my ramp is ramp spells, meaning putting more lands into play, I felt this was a great place for Blackblade Reforged. 2 mana. It has 2 different equips. To equip a legendary creature, it's 3. To equip anything else, it's 7. But the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Loxodon Warhammer, another old favorite, 3 mana, 3 to equip. Equipped creature gets +3/+0, trample, and lifelink. Yeah, just artifacts. We give boots that give flying. Champion's Helm will give Nazahn hexproof. Haste. Sword of the Animist is always good to mention. 2 mana, 2 to equip. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, but whenever it attacks, you search your library for a basic land card, put it into play, tap, and then shuffle your library. And arguably the best/worst equipment in the deck is the Masterwork of Ingenuity, because it can be whatever you need it to be. It's a single mana for an equipment that enters the battlefield as a copy of any equipment on the battlefield. So the problem being, if there are no other equipment on the battlefield, you cannot play it. Well, I mean, you can, but it just doesn't do anything. But yeah, that was kind of my take on the deck. I am planning on playing it on my next stream, which is on March 4th, as I mentioned in the first part. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where my Magic career goes with the stream starting up. And definitely nervous, but more excited to see where it goes. But yeah, that'll do it, and I guess I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.